Welcome to Conversations with Character. I am here with Barry Reeves, who is a bodyguard. This is the first time I've gotten to talk to a bodyguard. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's start at the beginning though, man. How old are you? Where are you from?
I'm 41 years old. I'm originally from Washington State, but I spent the majority of my time pretty much after high school living in Southern California, Camp Pendleton. I was stationed for about 12 years, and then I've lived in LA ever since for about the last 13 since I got out. So
what branch of the
I guess
military
you could say like the Marines.
Marines? All right. So what made you decide to go into the Marines?
I think it was a situation where, I had a child real young, and I didn't really have a lot of opportunities for school or, local jobs in the area. It's kind of from a small city. So it was just kind of an idea to get work going, get something under my belt, and then be able to move on from there.
Well, what was your experience in the Marines like?
It was pretty busy. A lot of traveling, obviously a lot of training. There's a lot of time spent out in the field, depending on what your job is. But I was attached with different units, some that did some tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, things like that. So there's a lot of training that comes, before you go, and then obviously after you come back as well. So keeps you pretty busy that way.
What kind of effect do you think it had on you as a person?
I would say probably the biggest thing about it is you get really like mission focused, and you lose a lot of time with family. So if it's something where you have a big family or you're really close to your family, that might be something that some people might want to stay away from, just because it requires so much of your time, and a lot of people they don't really understand it, or you just kind of start getting lost in how important the mission is that you're trying to do, and some of the other things kind of get pushed to the side sometimes. So I would just be aware of that.
You were in the Marines for 12 years, you said?
12 years, yeah.
Wow, okay. So what'd you do when you got out of the military?
Well, I actually got connected during my last tour. I was in Afghanistan about the middle of 2012. And I started kind of just reaching out to people because I knew at the end of the year I was going to be getting out of the military. And I was trying to figure out like what I was going to do next, right? Because I really didn't have a plan, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So I just started reaching out to people, trying to network. And at that time, like Twitter was kind of a big thing, right? Twitter and Facebook. Instagram was kind of just starting out, so nobody was really on that just yet. And there wasn't any TikTok or any, crazy platforms like we have now, right? But so I was just reaching out to people on Twitter, trying to, see what I could do, and came across a few opportunities. Shout out to Whack 100, you guys might know from No Jumper and a lot of other ventures that he's currently doing as well. Yeah. But he was kind of the guy that I reached out to, and he, kind of brought me in. He said, hey, as soon as you come back to LA, let me know, and I'll set up some meetings for you. So he ended up setting me up with Rapper The Game, which was actually my first client. And then that kind of opened a lot of doors for me, because he would, take me places, introduce me to people. And a lot of what you do in this industry is, word of mouth or referrals, right? So you do a good job with somebody, they make a phone call for you, or their buddy maybe reaches out to them and says, hey, I need a guy, who do you know? And that gets you in the door a lot more than, say, just, having a good resume or a good experience, whatever the case. Like some people kind of look into that stuff, but some people, they're going to take the word of mouth of their friend over anything else.
The Game is a hell of a first client.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if I was really ready for that at that moment, but, again, I was coming off of, back-to-back deployments and a lot of training, martial arts and firearms training, and, some pretty crazy situations out there. So I kind of felt like I was ready to take everything on at that point. But he really opened my eyes, because, coming from a small city in Washington and pretty much being in Orange County the majority of my time in the military, now you're coming to LA, Compton, and it's a whole new lingo, and you got some some gang activity going on. So it was kind of like opened my eyes a little bit, like, wow, but the good thing about that is, when you start bringing me around people like that, it's like they start to get that respect from you as well, right? They see what you do, and then they see the fact that you're hanging out with him. It's like, oh wow, okay, we're messing with this dude now. So that kind of led me to a lot of other opportunities in the area as well, just from that perspective.
What was it for? Was it like, were you just security for a show, or were you with him for an extended period of time? Like, what kind of gig was that?
It was probably about 8 months. I was in the process of trying to get like firearms certifications and CCW and stuff like that. At the time in LA, we had a corrupt sheriff that was in office, so LA County was pretty much a no-go for CCW. So at first they were kind of just like, we'll bring you around, we'll take you on some different venues, or if he had like shows. At that time he was doing 60 Days of Fitness workout program that he was doing, so we were doing that 5 days a week. We go to Runyon Canyon and do a workout. He started bringing some different, celebrities to do that, and that was like when Instagram was kind of just blowing up, right? So it's a lot about building content, but not thinking in the mindset of like you're building content, right? You're kind of just there, you're filming stuff, maybe you're posting stuff up, but you're really just trying to like make connections. And obviously he was kind of more established artist at that point, and so he had a lot of big celebrity friends that would come out, work out with us, and then he would go do clubs or shows or things like that later. So his main bodyguard was a guy named Big Kev, and he kind of showed me the ropes a lot about what was it like to do that kind of a job. He put me on with Nicki Minaj, Ray J, like when they were first trying to come up as well, and just put me in the room with people that a lot of people can't get in the room with, especially these days, right? So it's one of those things where you have somebody like that who's willing to kind of take you under their wing, show you the ropes, and put you in position to win.
So for a job like that, did you have any situations that came up? Like, I would imagine most of the situations in something like that is like fans trying to get too close to him.
That's usually the biggest part about this industry that you got to worry about. It's not the fact that it's just not dangerous. It's that a lot of people will see either if the client has like a large entourage. Obviously, he carries a pretty big entourage when he goes places. But the big thing is, you have fans that don't really understand the boundaries, right? Or they don't see the person as like a human. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna like walk up and pitch them my CD or my clothing line or whatever, and it's like, hey, the guy's just trying to like get a smoothie or get something to eat. Like, could you just give him a break, right? Or if you're going places and you're bringing your kids, for example, right, or your significant other, that's not really the time to be approaching these people with those type of opportunities, right? You got to catch them in a different atmosphere. The other part of it too is that entering and exiting venues, entering or exiting clubs, especially at the end of the night, because now you're having people who have been, taking drugs, alcohol, or even like TMZ would roll up on us, at 2:30 in the morning, and they're trying to catch you saying something jacked up, so they can kind of either paint you in a negative light or take what you're saying out of context because you're not in the right mind. So some of it too is kind of like you're protecting them for their own image as well, because they might not be in that right headspace in the moment.
Sure, like protecting them from themselves almost.
Right, exactly. And there's just too many people out there, like, especially now with all these like reality shows, and everybody wants some type of clickbait content, right? They're trying to get you to say or do things that are gonna, get you canceled or help that person progress. And it's like you're not even thinking about the fact like this is a grown man or this is a grown woman. They're trying to do things for their family or themselves. Try maybe giving them a little bit of a break or be a little more respectful. So some of that was just being like a barrier to those type of people as well. Not so much like dangerous, but protecting that person's image.
Sure. What are some of the other bigger names that you've worked for?
Oh man. Well, I would say one of the bigger ones that people would know from LA is Nipsey Hussle. And his main bodyguard was J-Rock. I actually met when I was working with Game. So I've known him probably about 12 years now. And he gave me a call when it was Grammys for 2019, which was about a month before he was killed. And, so he called me up and said, hey man, I need some guys. Nipsey's nominated for Album of the Year, which Cardi B ended up winning that year. But, it was a great opportunity because it was like, again, somebody that I knew. He put me in a position. He told me to get 2 other guys, so we'd have a 4-man team. So I called two guys that I had been working with for years. We took care of him, his family, Lauren London.
Wow.
And everybody had a good time. Everybody was safe. But it was another opportunity again where it was like, a guy who was kind of emerging, who had been around a lot of these major artists, and the fact that they knew I had worked with some of these people coming up already, it gave them a lot more trust and confidence in me, to the point where, at the end of the night, he said, hey, or at the end of that weekend, he said, hey, I want to be able to reach out to you guys again. I'm going to have J-Rock call you guys when I need stuff coming up. So at that time, they had the Marathon clothing store was just opening, the Marathon Collective, all those type of things were progressing for him. And, unfortunately, we had that situation that happened. Rest in peace to Nipsey, but just an amazing guy. And, the fact that he didn't care about where you were from or whatever the case, he just knew that somebody he trusted said that you were good to go. And he was willing to run with that, regardless of what it was. So that to me was a lot of respect to him. And the fact that, even to this day, I'll still see his family, or I've done other events like when he got the Hollywood Star, on the Walk of Fame. And, J-Rock called me again, said, hey, I need you to cover Lauren London, get your same team that you had. She's going to be doing a presentation for the Star and everything like that. So, it's just another good opportunity where you feel like you made an impact with people enough to where they want to keep calling you back. Yeah. And that's pretty much what has kept me going this long, I would say, with some of the people I've worked with.
Man, if you'd only been there that fateful day with Nipsey.
I think that's something that a lot of us, out here say, or even like Young Dolph, for example. Yeah. He was killed out here. PNB Rock is another one. And a lot of times it's a situation where like you've worked with these guys, or you've seen them in the past, or, say you pass them in a club or an event or something, and they see you working with somebody. So you give them your information, hey man, respectfully, if you need anything coming up, let me know. And sometimes it's just not the right moment, or it's not in the budget at that time, right? Some of these young up and coming artists are not really making a whole lot of money because the way that the industry's set up, right? So they might only be getting a little advance so they could get a watch or a chain or whatever the case, but they're not making the kind of money that we would think right off the bat, right? So they don't have that kind of budget for security right away. So we tell them, hey, just give us a call when you're ready, or maybe we can work out something in the meantime. But, sometimes it's wrong place, wrong time, or, you come across the wrong people. But we just do our best to try to do what we can do. And then, like, as we've elevated with our skills, we've taken different types of training, whether it be martial arts, or there's different types of executive protection courses. Obviously, you've had some type of training from the military, or some guys from law enforcement. They kind of have that skill set already, right? But you do things out here to kind of fine tune that. And then it kind of makes your marketability go up a little bit.
Has there been like a really crazy situation working security that you had to do, it went wild? And
yeah, there's definitely been some of that. I would say some of the parties probably are the ones that get like the most out of hand, because there might be, 300-400 people there, and their budget only allowed them to get 2 or 3 security guards. So now if you have a big fight or something that breaks out, what's 2 or 3 guys really going to do against 10, 20 guys that are now, in this brawl type situation? So I would say that's probably like the biggest thing. Knock on wood, thankfully I haven't been in too many crazy situations. I would say the few of them that had come along, I was able to kind of see it as it was coming, and either, get the client, figure out what the exit strategy is going to be, and get them out of harm's way. And there was a couple situations where we did get the person out, and then something happened, either like a shooting in the club or a stabbing even, that happened minutes after we left. So wow. I would say that's probably the bigger part of the game, is just to understand these things and know your angles, know your entries and exits, and then always have a plan for what you might see coming. And you have to hope the client is going to, in that moment, say, hey, you know what? Okay, this is what we talked about. You're telling me it's time to go. I'm not going to waste time. I'm not going to wait around. I'm just going to take your lead and we're going to get out of here, you know? And that's could be, you know, sometimes hurtful for them as well, because they're trying to network, they're trying to, you know, make their money. And they have to, you know, give you that trust, give you that respect to say, oh man, okay, this guy sees something that ain't right. I'm just going to go ahead and listen. We're out of here.
And I mean, you're constantly having to read every room, look at every single person.
Definitely.
The military training played a part in that, I'm sure, but I'm sure some you learn every day.
Oh, huge. Yeah. No, yeah, it's something that you definitely, you pick it up as you go, for sure. I mean, I would say any type of military law enforcement for like, you know, self-awareness or situational awareness, those things are always key. But a lot of it is reading people. You know, you can kind of see, even in a crowd, like say if it's a concert and you're up on stage and you're kind of just scanning the crowd to see something that might be out of the ordinary. If everybody's, you know, focused on the person on the stage and they're jumping around, they have their phones out, and you have that one guy who's kind of like looking off to the side, or, you know, he's kind of like, you know, motioning for his buddies to come up, or you see him kind of like going toward the front of the stage or something. You're picking up on those vibes that they're giving out, right? Or if it's more like a close proximity situation where the person is out there doing a meet and greet, or they're, you know, talking to the fans, or even just out at the mall shopping or something, you're kind of just scanning the area to see what everybody's doing, and you're trying to pick up on those little things that might kind of get those spider sense tingling a little bit.
Sure. Now, I mean, I've seen you do jobs for, like, I wouldn't say small artists, but smaller than these big celebrities are talking about, and then you kind of
Sure.
put up like these promotional posts of the concerts that you were guarding and things like that. Do some of these artists kind of seek you out because you have these relationships with these other people?
I would say so. I would say that Instagram definitely plays a big part in that. The fact that people can see who's following you, or they can see who you've worked with. So I kind of use it as like a living resume. Or like you'll have these little networks of like other guards from other cities. So maybe they have like a client who's flying in from Atlanta or Chicago or somewhere like that, right? And maybe that client doesn't have that budget to bring that guard with them, because now you're talking about travel, food, hotel, you know, all that kind of stuff they got to pay as part of the rate, right? So they'll say, okay, you know what, I'm going from New York to LA. Who's the guy that you have out there? Or you kind of make these, you know, networks with these other guys and say, hey man, if you got a guy who's coming to my area, let me know. Or vice versa, if I got a guy coming to Miami, like I'm going to call a guy that I know in Miami, he's going to take good care of the client, right? So it kind of saves the client money as well, and it puts each of you guys in contact for new opportunities. But I would say the good thing about a lot of these young artists is they're kind of new in the whole scene, right? Some of them are like more influencers, or maybe they use TikTok and now they're starting to branch out. They're starting to do music and things like that, but they're starting to get more well known, right? And a lot of these younger kids, the fan base, they don't really have that respect barrier yet either, right? They'll do anything to get that picture or get that, you know, whatever they want to post on their story and all that kind of stuff. So they can get a little out of hand. So you got to kind of tell them like, hey man, look, these are situations that you're going to see yourself in very soon, because you're a talented young guy and you're just kind of breaking out into the market. So I'm going to make an investment into you because of what I see in that person, right? So if I see like they have the potential to be something big, I'm going to try to reach out to them, introduce myself and say, here's what I can provide. I know that the budget might not be there just yet, or whatever it is that you're working with. Let's try to figure out a deal where I'll start you off at this certain rate. And then as you progress, either you get, you know, signed to a label, or you start making movies, or, you know, whatever it is that you do, your social media platforms start to create more revenue. Now down the line, we could try to restructure and go at my normal rate. So I definitely see those guys as an investment, but I also have a lot of respect for what they do, especially these young kids.
No, absolutely. You posted one concert that you were at recently. I can't remember the kids' names, but there was like a 12-year-old drummer or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that was crazy. Those
Magnus.
kids are so talented.
Yeah, Wrecker, the drummer, he's a 13-year-old kid from Arizona, and his dad, you know, drove him out to LA for the show. I think he had done a show with Gavin in the past as well. So he's another one of those guys where he's just, you know, trying to get his niche, and he's, you know, in middle school, and he's trying to do like online schooling and, you know, doing shows 2 or 3 times a week for
Wow.
for artists all over the place. So it's great to see these guys, you know, really come up and build a name for themselves on these platforms.
That's amazing. That's crazy. So you mentioned before the interview you have a day job and you kind of take these gigs at night and things like that. Is it your goal to do the security full time?
You know, it used to be that goal probably anywhere from about 5 to 10 years ago. That was kind of my main thing, was like, you know, I'm going to do whatever it takes after being given such great opportunities. I'm going to, you know, do what I got to do to make it happen. And unfortunately, the reality was, living in Southern California, you cannot afford to just have one thing going, right? And I quickly realized that, which made me say, hey, I need to go to school. I need to, you know, get an education. I need to have a main staple career type job, which took me maybe about 5 years to do, between like school, doing some different jobs on the side, plus security. So trying to do like 3 things at one time, and then finally getting into a career that's more of like, okay, Monday to Friday, I got some set hours. Now I could say, yeah, I could do these type of jobs, or I could take these type of clients in the evenings or the weekends when I'm off, right? Or, you know, my job has the ability to allow, you know, give me some vacation time, some sick time, stuff like that. So if I have like a real big client coming in, or something that I know I need to do that's, you know, during those hours, I could say, hey, maybe I could just take a vacation day or 2, you know, to handle that job. So
What is your day job?
I work for the government.
Okay.
So yeah, I just do some do some regular stuff, nothing too crazy, but yeah, I'll keep the entity a secret for now.
Fair enough. What are the biggest obstacles that you face trying to, you know, not just on the job, but also, you know, figuring out how to balance life with all of this?
Well, I'll say the biggest part of balance would definitely have to be flexibility, but you also have to have a lot of self-discipline, because out here it's a lot of opportunity to kind of get tangled up in what everybody else is trying to do, whether it be like nightlife type stuff, or like, hey, let's go to this event and try to network or whatever. And there's a lot of people that are not having your best interest at heart, right? So you can get linked in with the wrong crowd, or you can just get linked in with people that are saying they're doing a whole lot, right? Their platforms make it look like they're doing all this stuff, but they're not really doing as much as you might think, right? So you kind of have to be like open-minded to that, and be disciplined enough to say, if this is not going to be a good opportunity for me, or this is going to be something that's not going to be progressive for my time, I need to just stay away from it until I see it develop into something. So just, I guess, having that awareness and that self-discipline to keep yourself on track with a lot of distractions.
How have you found to be able to decipher the people who really have a lot going on and ones that just make it look like it?
Man, well, I'll say at first, I made a lot of bad decisions. I think that's kind of the way that I learned, unfortunately, was, you know, I came from a place where a real tight-knit community in the military for so long. You know, everybody kind of, you know, has your back, and you guys are always hanging out on the weekends. You know, you become real close with the guys that you work with, right? Because you got to go out and do some dangerous stuff. Then you come out here where it's kind of more like it's all about me, and, you know, people are pretending to be something that they're not. And it kind of puts you at a disadvantage, because you really want to see that good in people that you had from experiences, but you have to come to the realization that's just not what it is. Like, everybody's not going to be your friend, and everybody's trying to, you know, make their way and pretty much survive because of the cost of living and just the dog eat dog scenario that you have, like, especially in most major cities, right? So if everybody's trying to be these, you know, celebrities, and there's really only so much that people can take from, they're going to try to cut corners whenever they can. So I kind of just started looking at it as like, I got a few people that I would say are like good friends, people that I can call on if I really need something. And then the other people are kind of just associates until they can prove over time this is what they're really about, and they're going to show up for you. They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. But it's kind of a tough situation sometimes to read at first. So you just gotta kind of like take it step by step and really just see what people are all about.
Sure. So they level up to the friend status.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's tough. It gets frustrating because I'm the kind of person where like I'm real trusting at first, or at least I used to be, and kind of got me into some situations where I had people steal money from me or put me in situations where I thought they had my back and they really didn't. And but it kind of made me just open my eyes a little bit. Like, all right, I need to kind of go back to what I know, and I've been in some of the worst situations you can imagine. So having kind of a mindset and then just putting it to like a personal level and say, I don't want to be selfish, but sometimes I just gotta, worry about me, worry about my family, and then everybody else is just gonna have to prove themselves.
I'm not sure how long and how far in advance you get, news about these gigs and jobs coming up, but do you have anything coming up that you're excited about, or a big job that you want to talk about?
Well, what I normally do is I take a look at some of the major events I've done in the past, right? So you have like the Grammys that we just had. We have Rolling Loud coming up. You've got like all the big award shows, Emmys, Oscars, all that kind of stuff. And then you have like major concerts that are rolling through. So I kind of try to pinpoint all of those, put those on the calendar, and kind of leave some time open just in case, because somebody will call, last minute, or, maybe they'll call a couple of days prior and say, hey, I've got an artist coming in for Rolling Loud, for example. So last year I had Money Man for Rolling Loud. So, they called me a couple of days prior, said, hey, he's going to be here. He's going to perform. Here's what's going to happen, right? So you kind of leave those big type of events. BET weekend is another one, right? So, and then holidays too, right? Because a lot of guys like to go out for the holidays, or they have holiday parties or concerts or family stuff they want to do, right? So they want to have somebody with them. So you try to keep some of those like major things on the calendar available, and then you kind of just pick and choose things as they come. And sometimes it gets to be a little overwhelming, or it's you're not able to cover everything. So it's good to have a solid team of guys you've been working with. You've worked with them for years. You guys have done training together. You know how each other move. So you feel more comfortable if you're not available, or say you're getting double booked. You can make a call to a guy, hey man, this opportunity just came up. If you're available, I'm gonna put you onto it, and then you guys can both win. It keeps the client happy, and they keep calling you back.
What's the most stressful kind of event for you? Like, I'd imagine it's music festivals. I'd imagine music festivals are a nightmare for a security guy, but what is it?
Yeah, the festivals can be, but it depends on what level you are at the time that you're working, right? Because I've been everything from the door guy at the club, the inside of the club, the festival security guard, the bodyguard, the executive protection where you're, on the jet, the estate security where you're at the guy's residence, maybe it's a house in the hills, or, the guy's got a big mansion and he needs some guys patrolling it and watching cameras. So pretty much every level of protection I've done. It depends on what level you're at the time, right? So if you're doing like a festival event and you're the guy who's out there for 12 hours at Coachella, it's 100 degrees and you're in a black suit, it's a dust bowl, right? That's a much different level of stress. And I actually have done that as well. But it's a much different level compared to, you come in with a client, you take him up backstage, you pretty much take a vehicle, the entire way there. You're up on the stage for 20 minutes, half hour, however long the guy's set. You get back in a vehicle and then you leave the venue or whatever. Maybe he does some press before or afterwards or whatever the case. Much different level of stress compared to all the standing and the weather and everything. Much less stressful, but a lot more hazard. So it's kind of a give and take. I gotta take that balance for what it is. But I would say that's kind of the overall goal for most of these guys is they know they're going to have to be in the trenches for a while, but they're going to build up their skill set. They're going to build up their network, and they're going to get to that point where they are that guy who's just coming in with the talent, moving around with them. They get to be in the back. They get to be in the little air-conditioned trailers or the little, air-conditioned rooms with all the fancy food and bottled water while the other guys are, out there sweating. So I think that's the way you have to look at it. You figure out, this is the skill set that I have. You get in where you can, you build your resume, and then eventually you're going to get to that point where life gets a little bit easier.
Yeah. Now, before we end it, if somebody wants to get into security, what kind of advice would you have for them?
I would say do all the types of training that you can, and talk with as many guys that you see, especially because now, social media is huge, right? Like, you probably know Kane Kong, right? Who's the baby's bodyguard, right? He's also a Fashion Nova model now, but that's another story.
Is he really?
But well, I don't know. He posts a lot of Fashion Nova stuff, but he's a cool guy. But you see these guys who are now, where bodyguards were kind of like behind the scene, or security professionals were behind the scene. They've now been given platforms, just like a rapper, a musician, a movie star, or whatever. They're given this opportunity to share. This is the type of training that I have. This is the type of training that I'm able to provide. Like, I could take somebody out. I took a guy out yesterday to do some firearms training because he's an armed security guard. So, God forbid he ever has to use this, but you want to be able to know what you're doing in that situation. So we go out, we run through some scenarios, from the basics of safety, firearms handling, how to shoot, and now we start increasing your accuracy as you get more comfortable with your shooting, right? So this might be a situation where if he's ever out there on an armed detail, or he's moving with the client and he has a CCW now, so it's like levels of progression, right? He needs to be able to know what to do in these type of situations. So there's a lot of security professionals out there. Byron Rogers is one, and Sun Seer. These guys have like courses that they put security guys through once a month or every couple months. They go to different cities and they say, hey, this is what I've done working 15, 20 plus years moving around with people, as where they didn't really have a platform back then. They were just kind of like the guy in the shadows, right? But now they have this opportunity to say, I'm going to give you all this knowledge and experience on how to do things the right way to make sure that you and the client are getting out of there safely, right? So I would say that would be one of the big keys, is just find out who these people are, ask around, look at different hashtags or whatever on your platforms, find out who these guys are that are like legit, reputable, and get as much knowledge as you can from them, and then put yourself out there on these different types of details and work your way up. Because if somebody sees you out there working, even if it's just a nightclub bouncer or whatever the case, especially in big cities, right? Because you're going to have all these influencer people or different celebrities that come in. They're going to see you working. It's going to put you in an opportunity to say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. If you ever need anything, here's my contact, or hey, here's my Instagram, for example, right? Now you can use that as kind of like your business card. You post some professional photos of yourself, or you post some videos of different jobs that you've done, right? Or what I usually do is I search, after an event, I'll search the hashtags, or I'll talk to different photographers that were there and say, hey, could you get me some content? Because I obviously can't have my phone out while I'm working, or, whatever, right? So, hey man, we're on the job. Yeah. So, so, you get good connections with those people, or like, you're doing like music video shoots, stuff like that, right? There's cameras everywhere around these guys. Yeah. So you say, hey man, did you happen to catch me in anything? I'd be grateful if you could send it to me. That way, at least I have something to show. This is who I was with. This is what I was doing. And obviously you want to get permission from the client as well to say, hey, if, is it okay if I post this kind of stuff? But it's also just good to have, if you need to use that as kind of like a business card. Hey, who have you worked with? Oh, I have proof that I worked with this guy, or, whoever it is. So, and these industries and these cities are really small. It's really small networks, small circles. Everybody kind of gets to know everybody, whether you're, networking with the PR person, and that PR person happens to know 20 clients, and they say, hey, this is my guy, B. Reeves, he's good. He's worked with this person. They're going to be like, oh yeah, okay. Well, let's give him a shot, So all those kind of people, or even like DJs especially, right? Because the DJs are the ones that are getting all the new music. They're connected with all the artists. They're going to get you up on the stage to be with the artist or with the client or whoever. And they're working at all the major clubs as well. So you're going to meet a lot of new potential clients, being able to go to those clubs. So I'd say just, be open to networking with everybody. Don't think that you need to go approach that client directly sometimes, because they either not going to be in the right headspace, or maybe they already have a protector that's working with them already. You don't want to like kind of step on that guy's shoes either, but you can always talk to the manager, the assistant, somebody else who works at the club. You kind of build those relationships with those people, and they're going to tell you, oh, we have this certain person coming tonight, or we have this guy who's hosting, or we have this person. I'm going to get you in there. So kind of building those good relationships, and then making sure that you're taking care of them on the back end as well. You want to make sure, like, hey, if it's a DJ, let me see if I can get him booked at a club. Let me see if I can get him booked at a mansion party or some other type of event coming up. So, they're helping you out. You're putting some money in their pocket as well with your connections, and then you just keep building yourself up like that.
Even with security, man, networking is key. Everything.
It's amazing.
And Instagram is a digital resume. That's what I talk to you about with artists all the time. But that's the way it is for any job now. Definitely.
You got to stay on it too, because I know a lot of guys. They'll say, hey, let me see your Instagram, because my client will ask me before I even send this guy to work for them. Let me see their Instagram. I want to see the kind of stuff that they're posting. I want to see, does this guy look like a professional? How does the suit look, right? They don't just want like a selfie picture that you took in the mirror in your black suit, right? They want to see, who has this guy been moving around with? Who does he know? And then, on Instagram, you can see that little thing in their bio where it'll say, who are your people that are both following you? So who do you have that's mutual followers or mutual friends, right? So having those celebrities, or the blue check mafia, those people following you or those people commenting or liking on your stuff can be huge, because that right there is going to say, oh, okay, this guy vouches for him, this guy vouches, or this person follows them. Okay, I need to see what this person's all about.
No doubt, man. And also that you're not posting some off the wall stuff from shows where it's disrespectful to artists and things like that.
Exactly. They have to think about their brand as well too, right? So that's something that you have to keep in the front of your mind is, just go back, and if you want to really like make it into a business, or you want to, be professional, go clean up some of that social media stuff, that post from 3 years ago where you were blackout drunk in Vegas and, doing crazy stuff. Just go ahead and just delete that, man. We don't, they don't want to see that. Yeah. Because, you're letting them know, hey, this guy, he might not be a professional when I put him in these big situations like this, right? So clean up your image, but also, you want to clean up yourself at the same time. Like, conduct yourself professionally, make sure you take care of yourself, work out, drink lots of water, eat right. Like, just do these things that you have to do to maintain yourself, because it's going to be some long hours out there on the job. You're gonna deal with all types of weather, all types of fans that are gonna be trying to push you out of the way and get pictures, and so it's like you gotta be mentally and physically prepared for this kind of stuff.
No doubt, man. Hey, but I really appreciate your time. This has been a great conversation with character with Barry Reeves. Follow him up, hit him up, watch all these people he's working with. He's got a really exciting page. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
The most prestigious network in the land, the Signature Series Network.